I'm Alan, and this is Daddy.
Alan and I are at home again, improving our cultural literacy and having a little afternoon tea.
Today's tea is a very nice chamomile, and we even have finger sandwiches this time, so we hope you'll join us.
Recently, Alan and I were watching the old Errol Flynn version of Robin Hood, and we noticed that they were eating their mutton legs with no cutlery, and it got us thinking.
When did people start using cutlery, and why?
Let me demonstrate. Obviously, using cutlery shows you have class. Oops.
What are you doing? Even I know you don't eat finger sandwiches with a fork.
Yeah, but well, I don't know. You see, maybe I'm starting what's on my pants? Maybe I'm starting a new trend. The history of cutlery isn't that old, so I think I can do as I please.
Of course, when we think of cutlery, we think of knives, spoons, and forks. The knife is obviously the oldest utensil.
Yeah, the early hunters figured out pretty quickly that after killing their prey, having something to cut it with was kind of important.
They started with sharpened shells or stone and ultimately added a handle for leverage.
And that was pretty much it for cutlery up to the Middle Ages, when someone decided a second spear-like tool would be good for holding the meat while cutting with a knife. Up to that point, they were eating those mutton chops with their hands.
This developed from the spear to the fork, and then to the carving fork, which sometimes has a guard on it.
So naturally, this is where it all gets very confusing, because different cultures began developing and using cutlery in different ways.
After all, they were still using chopsticks in Asia.
But we can generally trace the rise of cutlery along with the Renaissance, and it's said that Catherine de' Medici brought the idea of the fork to Northern Europe when she married Henry II of France.
Now, some will say the spoon came early on because people used shells and things to scoop, and there were ladles and such. But they were hard to make, and the individual spoon would come much later.
And individual is the key word here. I mean, one didn't expect to find cutlery at an inn or someone's house at first. I mean, this was something that you would bring along with you. And it wasn't until the 18th century that you might expect to find cutlery at a table.
In fact, it wasn't until the late 18th century that the cutlery began to take off as a huge business in Sheffield, England.
And if you were very wealthy, you might have your cutlery specially made out of fine silver or gold.
And if you were really, really wealthy, your child might have a silver spoon from birth or be born with a silver spoon in its mouth.
And this is where we get the term silverware, but that's largely inaccurate today, as most cutlery is made of other materials.
In fact, the Industrial Revolution meant that cutlery would proliferate. Not only was it manufactured faster, but it was made of new materials, like aluminum and plastic, and can be found anywhere, such as fast food restaurants.
It also meant a proliferation in the types of cutlery. I mean, just look at forks.
You have your oyster fork, dessert fork, salad fork, fish fork, dinner fork, fondue fork, appetizer fork, lunch fork, lobster fork, fruit fork, berry fork, cheese fork, ice cream fork, pastry fork, seafood fork, strawberry fork, donut fork, snail fork, and a bunch of others.
So, once again, we don't have time to cover the topic fully, and we are left to wonder what it all amounts to. What is the future of cutlery? Alan and I have very different ideas about this.
First, we must consider the straw. While it has been around since at least 3000 BCE, it has become a part of the modern dining experience.
But is it truly cutlery?
Then there's the toothpick. I prefer mine with cellophane. It can serve as cutlery when eating hors d'oeuvres, but it isn't great for finger sandwiches.
Yeah, it's not great for finger sandwiches.
Dipped in Tabasco sauce and paired with the straw, though, it can serve as an improvised blow dart in a hostile dining situation. I believe we will ultimately see a resurgence in the use of the much maligned spork, and it will eventually be seen on fine dining tables everywhere.
And I intend to devise a new type of cutlery for eating finger sandwiches.
You know, sometimes I can't decide whether you're just annoying or plain stupid. They're finger sandwiches. You're supposed to eat them with your fingers.
No. The point is that the world of cutlery is always progressing. All right, and you can see a great little video about the cutlery industry in Sheffield, England, by clicking on the link below. And then there's another about the book Consider the Fork, which is really good.
And as always, don't forget to subscribe and like us, pin us, and tweet us.
Most importantly, be sure to keep that pinky finger extended as you're doing. And try this for your finger sandwiches. It works. I'm getting there anyway. I'm working on it.